Imagine being in the studio with a music legend, only to find the experience more chaotic than captivating. That's exactly what happened to Larry Carlton during John Lennon's sessions for his rock and roll album. What was supposed to be a dream gig turned into a disorganized mess, leaving Carlton and other seasoned musicians scratching their heads. But here's where it gets controversial. Was it Lennon's personal struggles, Phil Spector's erratic behavior, or a combination of both that derailed the sessions? Let's dive in. Recording with an ex-Beatle was the holy grail for any musician in the early 1970s. It wasn't just a career boost. It was a golden ticket to musical immortality. Yet, as Larry Carlton revealed in a recent interview, even the most prestigious sessions could turn into a drag. The Rock and Roll album, a collection of covers from the 1950s and 1960s, was born out of a legal settlement between Lennon and music publisher Morris Levy. Levy had sued Lennon for allegedly borrowing lyrics from Chuck Berry's "You Can't Catch Me" for the Beatles' "Come Together." The settlement required Lennon to record a few songs from Levy's catalog, but Lennon, ever the visionary, turned it into a full album celebrating the rock and roll classics of his youth. Enter Phil Spector, the eccentric producer known for his wall of sound technique. Lennon had trusted Spector with Let It Be and his solo album Imagine, so he seemed like the perfect choice. But this is the part most people miss. Spector's involvement would become a nightmare. The sessions, which took place sporadically from 1973 to early 1975, were plagued by unprofessionalism and chaos. Lennon, fresh off his separation from Yoko Ono, was in the midst of his Lost Weekend phase, partying hard with Harry Nilsson and the Hollywood Vampires. Spector, meanwhile, was calling the shots, and allegedly firing them, quite literally, in a bizarre incident involving a gun in the studio. Carlton, then a 26-year-old session guitarist with an impressive resume, was called in for a week of recording at AM Studios. Armed with his Gibson 69 ES-335, he was no stranger to high-profile gigs, having worked with Linda Ronstadt, Quincy Jones, and even TV and film scores. But this session was unlike anything he'd experienced. Spector had booked the musicians for 7 p.m., but by 9:30, neither Lennon nor Spector had shown up. Carlton and piano legend Leon Russell, who had performed at George Harrison's concert for Bangladesh, passed the time jamming in another studio. When Lennon and Spector finally arrived around 10 p.m., the mood had soured. It was a bad time for John, Carlton recalled. He was drinking. The song for the night was Boney Maroney, a 1957 rock and roll classic by Larry Williams. Lennon, slurring his words, struggled to call out the chord changes, a simple A and D progression. It was a drag, Carlton said. It was not professional and not what I expected. Frustrated, Carlton left a message for Spector's office at midnight, canceling the rest of the week. It could have been so cool, he lamented, but it just wasn't fun. And this is where it gets even more chaotic. Spector disappeared with the master tapes, later demanding a deal to return them. In March 1974, he was involved in a serious car accident that left him in a coma, further delaying the album. Lennon, meanwhile, shifted focus to his Walls and Bridges album. Capitol Records eventually paid Spector around $90,000 to recover the tapes, but the damage was done. The rock and roll album was finally released in February 1975, a rowdy time capsule of Lennon's tumultuous era. Here's the burning question. Who actually played guitar on Boney Maroney? For years, Carlton was credited, but he confirmed in a recent interview that he didn't end up on the album. The finished version likely features Steve Cropper and Jesse Ed Davis, but the mystery remains. Lennon would go on to produce the final sessions himself in New York, and Rock and Roll became his last true solo album before his tragic death in 1980. Looking back, Carlton stands by his decision to leave the sessions. "Yeah, that wasn't fun," he said. "I'm an admirer, but that was a bad time." It's a poignant reminder that even the most iconic collaborations can be marred by personal and professional turmoil. What do you think? Was Carlton right to walk away? Or should he have stuck it out for the sake of working with Lennon? Let us know in the comments.